5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, I am live on YouTube. Dan Salem here, BuzzChomp channel on the YouTube space. About to talk some NFL action. This time we're going to be tapping into this season because some projections have come out of Las Vegas. But first, we're going live on Facebook in 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello, hello. Facebook, I'm Dan Salem. YouTube, I'm Dan Salem. At the Dan Salem on Twitter, at the Dan Salem on Facebook. Live here talking NFL and a little bit of extra sports action. We're going to be diving into your best bets. This is a preview gambling guide all about the over-unders for each team throughout the league. Full disclosure, this is a sneak peek because my brother and I are going to be debating this all week long on NFL Spin Zone, division by division. We start in the AFC East tomorrow, then we're going to move on to the NFC North and move through all 8 divisions of the league. Which of these bets are good, which of these bets are bad? You'll get 2 perspectives, but here live tonight on BuzzChomp YouTube and at the Dan Salem on Facebook, you will get my perspective, an early peek in. I reserve the right to change upon further review when I go to actually do a full-on write-up, but tonight I am giving you my live perspective. And I will make a note if I change in my article. I highly doubt I'm going to change. These are kind of like no-brainers. Oh my God, Vegas just wants you to throw money at one team so obviously. It's not even funny. But let's get these logistics out of the way. Tweeting over on at the Dan Salem on Twitter. Going to hit the retweet button on BuzzChomp on Twitter with 1 extra Z because that's how Twitter is with BuzzChomp. 3 Z's instead of 2, which is over on YouTube, Buzz, Facebook as well. Retweeting action. There we are. Okay. So that still shows because of the cookies last week's, but this is NFL best bets over-unders with a nice picture of Tom Brady saying best bets. And the reason I picked Tom Brady is because not only do the Patriots have one of the highest over-under win totals of any team in the league, they might actually have the highest. We'll figure that out in a minute here. But they're probably going to go over, and they have potentially the weakest division in the entire league. So, to recap for you New England Patriots fans / haters, the Patriots are defending Super Bowl champions. They return almost their entire team. Also, they got better in the offseason in the areas where they were weak. Their division is weaker, if not just as weak, because they weren't very good last year. So that's 6 games against their division. They're not going to go 6-0, but 5-1 or 4-2 is pretty likely against their division. Somehow either the Jets or Bills manage to split with the Patriots every year. And while the same matchups are hard for the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins, they're pretty easy for the Patriots, NFC West, AFC North, right? It's not much to, let me double check that. It's not much to worry about in terms of the Patriots and New England. They are going to dominate top to bottom from week 1 through week 17. It's not even close. AFC West, NFC South. I apologize. Last year was the other way around. Yeah, so AFC West, I don't know. I mean, outside of the Raiders, no one else really scares me. And the NFC South, outside of the Falcons, nobody really scares me. So this is extremely winnable schedule for the Patriots. And then we go and we say, okay, so they're at 12.5 wins. Are the Patriots going to get 13 victories? Yeah, pretty likely. The thing is that the over is an even bet. So, it's not really a great bet to take, even though the Patriots are going to go over 12.5 wins. That's we're starting in the AFC East. We're going to move through the AFC and then the NFC because I'm a Jets fan, and so we're going to start with my home division. And the arch rivals, they're probably going to win 13, 14 games again. I'm hard-pressed to see them losing more than 2 or 3 times unless there's a major injury. On the flip side, the Dolphins are at 7. I'm writing that, this feels like an 8-8 team to me, but I think that they're going to stumble because someone's got to stumble. And so I could see them getting 5 or 6. I don't know. I just don't feel like Miami did a lot in the offseason. And they seem to be injury prone, and they seem to consistently underachieve. So I had to pick. I got to pick somebody to go under, and that's the Dolphins because I like Buffalo and the Jets as the over. Buffalo at 6.5 wins, just with the change of coaching philosophy. They got their quarterback back in the mix. They've added depth on defense. This team's going to win more than 6.5 games. I mean, 7 or 8 seems like a pretty safe bet to me. And everyone's down on the Jets. But they won 5 games last year with the most horrendous up and down quarterback situation I can imagine. It's not going to be that bad this year. There's going to be more consistency at the position. Now, it may not be significantly better, but the defense is significantly better for New York. Their secondary, they added 2 rookie safeties, which are going to be doing excellent, and they brought in some nice fresh blood, Maurice Claiborne, into the cornerback position. They're not going to be so bad on defense. This team, what did they lose on offense? They retained their running backs. They shored up the offensive line. They brought in some new blood on tight end, and they've got a ton of young receivers. Eric Decker's back. This team's at least a win better, if not 2. So, I mean, over 5 is a pretty safe bet for me for the Jets. The people are just hating on them because they don't know who's playing quarterback. But if Hackenberg wins the job, then he's better than Josh McCown. And Josh McCown's a definitely decent game manager. He can win 7 or 8 games for this team. I mean, I'm not sure they're a playoff team. I'll have to slow my roll there. I know I want them to. But they're better than last season's 5-win team. So go over with the Jets at 5. Again, the only real bet that pays out real well in the AFC East is the Bills at under 6.5 wins, but I don't like that bet. That's why it's paying out real well. Okay. In the AFC North, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers, 10.5 wins. Oh, I gotta say, this might be Ben Roethlisberger's last year. This is a good team, but because of it's a plus 110 to take the under, and I could totally see Pittsburgh winning 9 or 10 games. So I would take the under. I mean, yeah, maybe they're an 11-win team. I don't really see them as a 12 or 13-win team. I like Cincinnati to bounce back. I like Baltimore to stand pat and stay strong. So Baltimore's at 9 wins, and that's an over plus 110. I'd go over on Baltimore and under on Pittsburgh just because of the payouts. And I think Baltimore can truly win, is more likely to win 10 games than 8. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are more likely to win 10 than 11. I think they're both 10-win teams. And so I'd go the under on Pittsburgh and over on Baltimore. Moving on, Cincinnati and Cleveland. Cincinnati at 8.5. I like them over. I like them as a 9-win team. I mean, that one's kind of a toss-up because I could see them at 7 or 8 also. It's really a matter if things come together. They were hurting last season and they took a big step back. But they have been in the playoffs almost all of Andy Dalton's career. So for them to step back up and win 9 games, would it surprise me? I would go over with Cincinnati. And the same Cleveland, 4.5 wins. Now, because they were so bad last year, I'm going to go under on 4.5 wins. This is a nice young team. It's moving in the right direction. But even if Cleveland wins 4 games, that's 3 more than they won last season. So I'm going to go under 4.5, but I don't think it's going to be by much. This is a better team, and they're improving. But they got a tough division, and they're not a playoff team this year, the Browns. They're not 6-7 wins even. They're right around their spread. So that's 4.5. I'm going under. Questions before I move on to the next division here. All right, peeps. We'll hit up the live chat if you got questions. Or on Facebook, just type it in the comments and I'll see it. AFC South. This division's packed tight. Indianapolis Colts that are at 8.5. Until I see it, I know Andrew Luck's good for 8 wins, but until I see it, I don't believe in Indianapolis. I'm going under at 8. Now the over is the better bet, but that's because I like the under, and so does Vegas. Same with Tennessee, 8.5 wins. I like the over. The under is the better bet, but I kind of think this is a 9 and maybe even a 10-win team. They keep taking strides forward. The Houston Texans at 8 wins. Under's even, over's negative 120. I mean, I think this is probably an 8-win team, but they could. The problem is at quarterback. I don't think that they should start the rookie. It's kind of topsy-turvy. I'm going to go under 8 with Houston if I had to make a pick. They're not a terrible football team, but I don't think they're anywhere near where they were the last couple seasons. And then Jacksonville at 6.5. I'm going under, and the payouts there too. That team kind of fell apart, and it's still in the rebuild process. Jacksonville under 6.5 wins. The payouts plus 130, so that's definitely worth the grab. AFC West. Raiders 9.5. Go over. This is still a great football team. They added Marshawn Lynch. They're getting Derek Carr back from injury. Go over 9.5 for the Raiders, and go over 9 for Kansas City. I think that the RIP Kansas City is kind of premature. This is still a double-digit victory franchise. Broncos at 8. Under. I don't know. I think Denver's kind of still sliding down, finding their place. If someone's got to be under, it's the Broncos. And the Chargers at 7.5, I'd go over. I think that's an 8-win team. Look, I think all these teams are 8-win teams. And they're obviously not all going to be, but I think Phillip Rivers got a couple more seasons left in him, and he can put one together here. That just feels like an 8-win team, where the Broncos I'd go under. I don't know where they're at. Maybe 6-7 victories. They just don't feel. I know they put 9 together last year. The Chargers did not get anywhere near the 7.5, but that's the whole point of these over-unders. If we're wrapping up the AFC in that regard, it's going to be New England, Pittsburgh, Oakland, and who else? Oh, Tennessee. So not much different. Then we get the wild cards in there. I'm not going to speculate on that, but those would be the division winners based on the over-unders, which not much change, but a little bit of change. And that's generally where we get with the division winners. It's the wild cards that change so dramatically season to season. Teams that were in last year won't be, and teams that were out will be, but it's not likely to be in the division winner seat. Okay. Questions before we move on to the NFC. In the NFC, the East, I like the Dallas Cowboys over 9.5 wins. This is the double-digit win team. Now, obviously, the under is the payout, but no, I mean, Dallas, I think they're 9.5. New York Giants at 8.5. Grab that over. I mean, my goodness. This is a good team. They're going to be competing with Dallas for the division title all year long. Take the over at 8.5 on New York. I mean, what do they do to deserve such a slight? Unless they want early bets. Bet early on the Giants. 8.5 is an easy cover for this team. Flip side, Philadelphia at 8 wins. While I like the strides they've made with Carson Wentz, I'm going to say under. It's an even. I think this is like more of a 7-win team. And Washington at 7.5, I'd say over because I kind of like them at 8 or 9. I really do think Kirk Cousins, he keeps proving himself. He keeps proving it. I don't see any reason why he won't do that again. If the defense is really bad, yeah, Washington could fall back. But I like them more at 8 wins than at 7 right now as it sits. That's got the Giants and the Cowboys once again atop the NFC East. Not really a surprise there. I don't see either of those teams falling off. Over in the North, Green Bay at 10.5. I mean, you got to take the over. That's a tough call there. I could easily see them winning 9 or 10, but if someone's going to go double digits in the North, I like the Packers at 11, and the payout's plus 110. So I would grab that over, and then it's a better bet with the payout, anyways. And there's Minnesota at 8.5. I don't trust the Vikings to put anything together. I would take the under. The over's the payout because it's unlikely. But Green Bay, I like them at 11, and I like Minnesota under 8.5. I don't trust the Vikings. Not with the way the injuries hit them last year, and they were slow, and I don't know who's going to replace Adrian Peterson. Too many open questions. Detroit Lions, 7.5 wins. I gotta say, they overachieved last season. I think that they're more like a 7-win team. I would take the under with the Lions. And then Chicago Bears at 5.5. I'm going under. I think that Chicago got a chance to be the worst team in the league this year. I don't know what they're going to do with quarterback. There's no great decision. Yeah, they added the most prized veteran in free agency, but that doesn't make the rest of the team better. And he wasn't great anyways. So And then they got the rookie they're working in there. He's probably going to play by midseason. This is the team heading in the right direction, but they're going to have another high draft pick next year in April, and I like the Bears under 5.5. If it was at 5, I'd be tempted to go over, but I don't like Chicago. I think that they're like a 4 or 5 win team. Okay, NFC South. Falcons at 9.5. Now I know that the Atlanta came on real strong last year, but their division's not that tough. I mean, Carolina took a huge step back last season, but I like Atlanta over 9.5. I think this is a double-digit win team again. I'd go over. As for Carolina, they're at 9 wins. I'm nervous for them because of how hard they fell last season. Now Cam Newton coming off shoulder surgery. I'm going to take the under because I don't know if they can really go 10, but they could definitely do 8. And the under's an even bet, so I'd go under on Carolina. I don't trust them. I need to see it before I can believe it because it was really just one great year from them, and then the rest were more average. At New Orleans at 8, I would take the under just because I like the rest of the division better. Drew Brees only got a season or 2 left. I know they added some nice pieces this offseason, but if I had to I'm making picks, I'd pick under on New Orleans. And then Tampa Bay also at 8, I'd go over. Talk about stacked in the division here. The NFC South, 9.5, 9, 8, 8. I mean, one of those teams is losing a lot. One of those teams is only winning 5 games. Just the law of averages, but the sheer numbers. You can only have one division in football where everyone's doing really well. I don't think it's going to be the South. But I like Tampa Bay. So I'm going over with the 8, and that's a plus 120. Much better than grabbing the under. So I'd totally go over with Tampa Bay. And our final division, the NFC West. Seattle Seahawks, 10.5. So I like Seattle, but they've been a 9 or a 10 win team these last few years. Therefore, I'm going under on Seattle at 10.5 wins, and it's a plus 110. That is a great pick. Go Seattle Seahawks under 10.5. I mean, they're the best team in their division, but 11 wins. And I know did they get there last year? They may have got there last year. They get there because of the rest of their division's kind of weak, but I kind of like Arizona and to step it back up. Speaking of the Cardinals, they're at 8 wins on the over/under. I'd go over. It's not a great. The under's the better bet, but it's not the smarter pick. Over on Arizona, I like them to turn it back around this year. They kind of fell back last season. And the LA Rams, 6 wins over/under. It's tempting to go over because it's a plus 110, but I really do not trust the Rams yet. I don't trust Jared Goff. I'd go under on LA. I think they're more of a 5-win team. And then San Francisco at 5. I don't trust San Francisco either. I'm going under on San Francisco. I mean, this is probably a 3 or 4 win team. Both of them rebuilding. If either was going to get over 6, it would be the Rams. I could see them pulling off 7. So if you want to take that plus 110 bet, that's not terrible. But I would rather go under on LA and under on San Francisco. Recapping, that puts the Seahawks, the Falcons, the Packers, and the Cowboys/Giants in the NFC playoffs based on these over-unders. It seems like Vegas favored last year's playoffs teams rather heavily. And that's not a surprise. This should not be a surprise because all of our memories are based solely on last year's performance and who made the playoffs and who won their divisions. We haven't seen any preseason football. There are no injuries yet. All we know who's been added in the draft. These are prospects. So for all the teams that won their division last year to be favored to win their division again this year, they have quarterback stability. They have Pro Bowl quality quarterbacks, if not Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's not a surprise. It shouldn't surprise anybody. So we're going to have a little fun here. Which division winner is not going to win their division? New England's winning their division. That would be a huge shock. It'd probably take a Tom Brady injury for that not to happen. Okay. The AFC North feels up for grabs between Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. I mean, Pittsburgh's the favorite to win it. I believe, they won it last year. But that one feels a little bit up in the air. And I guess the AFC South is up in the air too because I could see Indianapolis or Tennessee coming away with it. AFC West is the Raiders, I believe. Even though Kansas City's going to be step for step, the Raiders are winning it again. I could see the Giants taking over from the Cowboys in the NFC East, but I think those two teams will still be neck and neck. And then I don't see the Packers or the Falcons or the Seahawks falling by the wayside, barring an injury. I don't see it. I think that they've got two good quarterbacks, stability, two good offense overall, and those teams are going to stand pat. All right. A quick jaunt around sports before we wrap things up, as I gave you my picks for every team in the entire NFL. That was 32 picks, so spend wisely. We have a rematch in the NBA Finals, a rubber match between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors. This should surprise nobody that considers themselves an intelligent sports fan. These were the two best teams with the two best players, and so it's no surprise that they easily made the finals. Now, what is surprising is how heavily favored the Warriors are. But I think it's to try to get the money flowing evenly, because Cleveland won it last year. Now, granted, Golden State did win at Durant, and so they have the chip on their shoulder wanting to prove themselves because they lost. But I feel like Cleveland's the better team. But so if everyone's throwing money at Golden State, and then now they're favorites, then Cleveland's getting the points. You want to throw it back to Cleveland. I mean, it's all manipulating crowd. I mean, I like the Cavaliers in 6. I don't think it's going to go full 7. I think Cleveland's a better team. LeBron's the best player in all of basketball. And, I mean, Kyrie is getting up there really good, really, really good. And they have better depth than Golden State still, even though Durant's on the team. I mean, I like Cleveland. I like Cleveland, period. They're going to win the second in a row here with LeBron. Okay, in baseball, my Yankees still playing well. They're in first place in the East. And poor Mike Trout. I like Mike Trout of the LA Angels, but he's getting thumb surgery. He's going to be out a month to 2 months. That's a shame. From a fantasy perspective, traded him in the offseason, so he's not on my team anymore. Go me. Thank you guys so much. This was fun. I'm Dan Salem, live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, over on YouTube at the BuzzChomp channel and on Facebook at the Dan Salem. I'll be back next Tuesday to talk the NFL and touch on a little bit of other sports, but this is an NFL live stream, so I'm talking the NFL. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Peace. And we're finished.